You're listening to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast, where we champion music of all genres, and we believe vinyl is king.
Vinyl is king.
Welcome back to the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast. I'm David Williams, and I'm here with Kevin Lee.
Hey, Dave. It's great to be back.
Tonight we're doing a club show, and we will be discussing our singer-songwriter record of the month. We did have a last-minute switch this month. Originally, we had Zachary Williams and his new album, Dirty Camaro, slated for the show tonight and for the singer-songwriter record this month. But that album was delayed, probably a production delay, which is usually what is happening in the vinyl world.
I'm excited for this record, though, because this is a good one.
Yeah, but we will have that album in May. All we did was switch it, and we brought Hurray for the Riff, Raff into this month, and we moved Zachary Williams to May. And so we'll actually start promoting that record on April 26th when we launch our May Records of the Month program. We'll also be discussing that album on the show Monday, May 2nd. Which I am really excited about because I am a big fan of this release. There's a lot of featured artists that guest on the album, including one of our really good friends to this show, singer-songwriter Thad Cockrell, who, as you know, has been on the podcast and on our radio show on air on Lightning 100. So if you saw that album being promoted on the website when we did our store flip this month, and we're excited about the Zachary Williams album, don't fret. It's still coming. So, Kevin, you'll still get to talk about some of the tracks off Dirty Camaro.
Dirty Camaro.
Yep.
Yeah. It's a good one. I'm looking forward to doing that show.
Well, for tonight's show, we're discussing another great release. We've already received that vinyl, so we just moved it up to this month. And we are going to be talking about an album that is the first album in 5 years from this band. It is Hurray for the Riff Raff and their new album, Life on Earth. We have new episodes every Monday where we discuss albums in our Record of the Month program at Blind Tiger Record Club. You can catch up on all of our Season 5 episodes on any of your favorite podcast platforms, or you can stream directly from the website at blindtigerrecordclub.com. Just click on the podcast button and pick an episode from this season or any of our 4 previous seasons of the BTRC podcast. 85 Supply is the official show sponsor for the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast. 85 Supply is a full-service nationwide merch company. They specialize in screen printing, embroidery, logistics, graphic design, and custom-branded promotional products. From printed t-shirts to the most custom products available, 85 Supply offers over 500,000 products to customize. 85 Supply is trusted by some of the largest brands in the nation, from organizations like MTV, LaCroix Sparkling Water, Spotify, and more. 85 Supply's reputation of quality precedes them. In fact, I have personally worked with 85 Supply for years. Almost all the merch products we carry at the Blind Tiger Record Club were designed, printed, and manufactured with 85 Supply. I tell them what I want, and they help bring the vision to light. Whether you're a touring rock band, an event, or organization, or a podcast and radio show like us, we highly recommend reaching out to our friends at 85 Supply for your next project that needs branded product. Go to 85supply.com or email info@85supply.com to get started. You can also get 5% off your first order. Simply mention Blind Tiger Record Club via email or over the phone with your rep. It's that simple. No coupon codes or anything to remember. Just tell them that Blind Tiger Record Club sent you and you get 5% off your entire first order. Once again, visit 85supply.com or email info@85supply.com to get started on your next merch product. The Blind Tiger Record Club is a vinyl subscription club and retail store. You join the club by picking from one of 4 styles: singer-songwriter, rock and alternative, jazz, soul, and blues, or classics. Once you join, you will receive records in your selected style, or you can log on to your account and pick from another style. So you always have at least 4 options of great new and classic music to choose between. Most are limited edition or special variants. A club membership really is the best way to secure these titles each month. Listening to these Blind Tiger Record Club podcast episodes is a great way to decide which album you want to have shipped to you this month. We flip our store every month on the 26th, so you always have until the 25th of the month to secure your favorite title for that month. Now, once you are a member, You always have access to purchase previous albums that were in our Record of the Month program that we still have in stock. Most of those are locked for our members only. We also have thousands of titles in the record store, and you do not have to be a member to shop there. We have turntables, speakers, headphones, and all kinds of great BTRC merch ranging from t-shirts and slip mats to vinyl messenger bags and hats. We even have a brand new shirt for this show. Just go to blindtigerrecordclub.com and you can see our membership details. There are style descriptions and easy-to-read instructions for how the club works, and you can check out our amazing collection of vinyl and other items in the store. Well, it's hard to believe it's already April.
It's flying by, right?
This month, along with the album that we'll be discussing tonight, we have some other great records in our program. We have the Horrible Crows and their 10-year anniversary edition of their album Elsie, and that's our rock and alternative record of the month. The second release from the partnership between Khruangbin and Leon Bridges, titled Texas Moon, is our jazz, soul, and blues record of the month. And our classic album for April is the Greatest Hits album by Blink-182. So tonight we discuss the April singer-songwriter record of the month. So let's drop the needle and take a quick listen to Life on Earth by Hurray for the Riff, Raff. On February 18th, Hurray for the Riff Raff released the band's seventh studio album, Life on Earth. This is the first album released on None Such Records and the first since their 2018 critically acclaimed release called The Navigator, which was on ATO Records. Hurray for the Riff Raff is a group formed by and around Alinda Segura. I don't think this is purely like a brand band, the way like His Golden Messenger or Father John Misty is, because she's got some, steady collaborators that she works with, but she's the primary writer and the vision for the band. I mean, this is her thing.
You were more informed on this artist than I was coming in, for sure, right? So I've done a little, some research and listening, but it does definitely come across as this is her, it's her vision,
right?
This is what she's projecting and she's writing, and I think at the end of the day, it's her, right?
And she really has morphed over the years as well. I think she's solidly stayed in this Americana, indie rock or folk punk spectrum, whatever you want to, I kind of view her as an indie rock artist.
It's kind of a tough
Bridgers or something.
Kind of a tough one to put in a box because the tracks are very percussive and almost loop driven, but with natural sounds.
Definitely on this album. But in some of her earlier albums, were definitely more folky, and there's just no other way to describe them than folk.
Right, a little more organic.
One of the band's retail singles that they released, just with a supporting video to kind of set up this record is a song called Pierced Arrows. It's more up tempo than some parts of this album, and more like maybe even traditional song structured, than some of
Exactly,
them.
and I think that's why it's the single. As far as if you're going to pull a single off this record, is it's a little more cast a wider net. It's not, it's still that indie sound that she
Right,
has and
right.
everything, and it's true to it. But as far as on all the songs on the record, the one that would probably be, get to the most people, the most tastes, right? That this that would be palatable for this is this song. I really like this song. Great listen, and it was not to discount anything else before we get to it, but I think this is my favorite song on the record.
Yeah. This is Pierced Arrows.
Trying to avoid running into my ex on Broadway. No one recognizes me anymore, girl, I'm lonely. Vampires and thieves, someone will bleed, will it be me? Rich kids who wanted everything, holding the bow while my ears ring. I keep on running for the blue. I duck my head and travel through. I keep on running for the blue. I duck my head and travel through. Pierced arrows from the sky fall through me every time. Hey, there's no way to die. Can't hide from turpentine. Pierced arrows from the sky can chase me down the sides. I'm not afraid to cry. Can't hide from turpentine.
Yeah, my favorite song on the record. I think it's song moves, and I like the lyric. It paints a nice picture. It's really, you can hear this great Blondie influence in her vocal delivery. The tempo, all that kind of stuff. Again, another very percussive track in the background. One thing that we were just talking about, there's no cymbals really on this record.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
Which is something that you just go,
Yeah.
well, that's what, how come there's no cymbals in here? But as far as like, splash cymbals and stuff. But anyway, this is my favorite song on the record. It's just cool.
This song really is interesting to me as well. Like I think it's kind of like Fleetwood Mac meets Arcade Fire. And I hear on pretty much the songs on this record that are full, and a little more traditional, like, verse, chorus, song structure. Like she just reminds me of a young Stevie Nicks, mainly the way that she's articulating her vocal, the way she attacks the melody, especially in the choruses. It doesn't just remind me of her voice. It reminds me of the way she would have done her vocal phrasing. This album was produced by Brad Cook, who we've discussed many times on the show. He's produced artists like Waxahachie, His Golden Messenger, Nathaniel Rateliff and the Night Sweats, Big Red Machine. These are all albums that we've actually had in our club program. So he does come up pretty regular here. He's also a well-established guitar player, and he appears, on many artist albums. Specifically, I do think he gets like this indie rock, he comes from like the Bon Iver camp, and that hence the Big Red Machine stuff, and
different, because this record is really different than a Night Sweats record, right? Or
right.
And stuff, and so to have the same producer, because it's just so lo-fi. This is a very lo-fi record. If you're into that, almost that 70s Velvet Underground, as you were talking about earlier. And
which
stuff.
we'll hear that on the next song for sure.
This record's really got that type of feel. It's very kind of low-key and stuff. Earlier,
she said her influences were Clash, and, I mentioned this to you, like Beverly Glenn Copeland, which, people rave about her, and I'm not one to ever really, I don't like being overly critical about anyone else's art, but I don't
Dave
get
doesn't
the
like-
I don't get the thing. But that's the
It's
key.
okay, you can say
it's
if
the
it's not for
keyboard.
you,
It's the
you
key.
know?
It's not for me. But the
Yeah.
keyboard, that's I think, she built all of her music on basically a basic keyboard in the 80s. And that's one of the things that's kind of pulled in here for sure. But to your point, you can definitely hear in a lot of these songs some other influences from other artists from the 70s. As a matter of fact, the single that we're about to play, it's still light and breezy. It's a song called Rhododendron, and the song was co-written with Jim James of My Morning Jacket. And this is the one that has that Velvet Underground vibe to it for sure. I mean, you nailed that. Absolutely. I also think you're going to hear influences if you listen, even from David Bowie, obviously Lou Reed. But I do think this is one of the best moments on the album. But I'm also a fan of some of that music. So this is Rhododendron.
Police barricade, rhododendron. Oh, I can't look back. I lost it all on this one-way track. Don't turn your back on the mainland. Don't turn your back on the mainland. Don't turn your back on the mainland. Rhododendron.
I think some of the comparisons, we made, with Velvet Underground and Lou Reed and stuff was pretty obvious on that track. I also still think the fact that she wrote that with Jim James, if you're familiar with even some of his solo records outside of My Morning Jacket, I mean, you can definitely kind of see some of these influences in that track. A lot of the subject matter on this album is personal, but, in some cases it's also a little heavy. But she still manages to keep it light, melodic. Most of the songs have really good singable choruses still, which, considering some of the subject matter, you just wouldn't expect that. Another strong song on this record reminds me a bit of the way other artists in this same kind of indie space have been approaching songs on their albums. It's a song called Saga. This is another one I think you liked a lot.
Right. One thing that's interesting that just came to my mind as you were describing it there, she actually is kind of a carefree singer, right? She can be singing about something really heavy, but you wouldn't tell it by the way she's singing it.
Right.
It's just the lyrics heavy, but she's kind of just carefree on her approach to it. It doesn't sound like she's not a really intense a vocalist, as more as that she's just kind of telling the story. But yeah, Saga, this one is a little bit wider, and it brings in some more instrumentation, some alto and regular saxophones and stuff like that. Again,
horns, yep.
Yeah, so and some horns. Again, a very percussive track. It's kind of a theme on this record where she kind of has that just rolling all the time.
But more in the loop,
background.
like a
Yes.
loop, yeah.
So not really a band feel, even though it's organic sounding as far as the samples or whatever that they're using. But that's kind of chugging along, and then bringing in horns and saxes, which is something that we don't hear in other places on the record.
Right.
And made the song a little different and interesting on the record. This is called Saga.
Take it. They always want you to take it. Just close your eyes, baby, fake it. Burning inside out. saga of my life, the saga of my life. I just wanna be free, get over it in time, push it out of my mind.
So I'm not really sure if it's a loop or if there's a live drummer playing. Then I should clarify that.
They
But-
definitely didn't have cymbals.
But
The easiest kit ever to set up.
Exactly right. It's just there and going. But the xylophone, synced notes, which you pointed out is that's where you hear the influence from the other woman that you were speaking of before.
Yeah,
that's
Beverly
on-
Glenn
Beverly Glenn. That's on. On the Casio.
I would have said, because she's from New Orleans, that's probably something that she picked up there, but I don't think it is. I think it's because of the Copeland influence.
And I'll say this too for those of you out there that are a little bit like me and more into the less indie side, maybe of the fence, and most of my
Right.
general listening. This record grew on me. It's growing on me. These tracks are growing on me. Even after a few listens, I started to find new things to
Right.
appreciate and stuff. And if, like I said, especially if you're into that Lou Reed 70s, early Deborah Harry Blondie type of vibe, a little bit more acoustic, obviously, but that kind of delivery. This is a record that you can put on, and in track to track, it's going to deliver that for you.
Hurray for the Riff Raff it's hard to believe, but I mean, they've been around for close to 25 years at this point.
Can you believe that?
And, they've released albums like, the aforementioned The Navigator, which have been very influential on other artists. I've seen artists, like even 21 Pilots reference Hurray for the Riff Raff as records they're listening to when they're and just influential albums for them, which I'm sure they were probably talking about The Navigator. I definitely think if you're not familiar with Hurray for the Riff Raff, this is one for you to check out. If you want to get this album in your April club selection, pick Singer-Songwriter. We have it for our members in a limited edition clear vinyl.
Sky and the trees and birds and the bees. Life on earth is long. Rivers and lakes and floods and earthquakes. Life on earth is long. And no, I might not meet you there, leaving it beyond repair. Won't you hold me so I can see the man in the mask at the desk with a flask sings life on earth is long.
Well, that wraps up the show for tonight. We hope you've enjoyed our discussion on Hurray for the Riff Raff and their new album, Life on Earth. We always hope our discussion inspires you to hear more music or dig in deeper and learn more about specific artists. If this is an album that you're interested in finding out more about, head to blindtigerrecordclub.com. It's the BTRC Singer-Songwriter Record of the Month for April. We have some other great titles in April. As I mentioned at the beginning of the show, we have the Horrible Crows and their album Elsie. We actually have that in a limited edition silver vinyl. We have Khruangbin and Leon Bridges' album Texas Moon in a limited edition Blue Days vinyl. And lastly, we have Blink 182 and their greatest hits. It's a double vinyl. So head to the website and choose one of these albums to start your membership with, and you will get incredible albums like this delivered right to your door every month. The pricing is very reasonable, and it really does let you secure vinyl that often sells out very quickly. Remember, it's your vinyl, it's your choice. I can't encourage you enough to check out our sponsor, 85 Supply. They can help with everything from printed t-shirts to custom products. You can get all your merchandise service needs met with one company, from design to print, listeners of this show get 5% off your first order. Simply mention Blind Tiger Record Club via email or over the phone with your rep. The whole process is so simple. Go to 85supply.com or email info@85supply.com for more information. Don't forget about all of our past episodes from past seasons of the show at the Blind Tiger Record Club podcast. It's available on all major podcast platforms, including Apple, Spotify, YouTube, and many others. You can also go to blindtigerrecordclub.com and click on the podcast link to stream directly from our website. You can listen to recasts of shows that aired on Lightning 100, as well as our artist interviews and annual end-of-year shows. The podcast really is a great way to discover new music, even if you're not a member of the club. Our next show will air Monday, April 11th. We'll be discussing the April Rock and Alternative Record of the Month, and it's the Horrible Crows and their album Elsie, celebrating their 10th anniversary of that album. It's a great record. If you don't know this band, it's one of Gaslight Anthem's frontman Brian Fallon's side projects. Please follow the podcast, smash the like buttons, leave reviews and comments, and tell your friends about the show. Stay up to date on all that we're doing by signing up to our email list at the website. You can also follow us on Instagram and Facebook. Most importantly, keep coming back. You support this show just by listening. So until next time, keep the wax spinning.